Hi everyone, I've been away for a while, but this time I'm back with the new Marvel Legends Stilt Man wave Into the Spider-Verse Miles Morales. A quick shout out to my local toy store Robo. Gerard hooked me up with this new wave real quick, and I'm so excited to bring you this action figure review. A quick look at the box. In the front we see the Into the Spider-Verse logo. And down the side is the artwork of Miles, as well as his graffiti-style spider logo. On to the back, there's Miles with a backdrop of New York City, and the artwork style is really consistent with what we saw in the movie. A quick description of Miles. The other figures from the wave on display over here. It's interesting that the Spider-Verse movie characters are color-coded in pink, while the comic characters are color-coded in black. On to the other side of the box. The same reflected artwork of Miles and the spider logo. So let's go ahead and get him open. And out of the box you see the action figure packed in with an extra head, 2 spare hands, and a Stilt Man BAF part. Backdrop of the box has the nice graffiti spider logo with a bit of blue to contrast the black and the red of the outside packaging. So a quick look at the BAF piece, which is the chest piece slash backpack for Stilt Man, sculpted entirely in silver looking plastic with no paint, and I'll take a closer look at this when I review the whole BAF action figure. Next up is the spare head sculpt for a masked Miles Morales. Very sharply painted eyes with the red outline and the white on the insides. He's got cool web lines sculpted on his head as well, and if you look closer there is a fabric texture in between the web lines, and that makes the outfit look really realistic. Taking a closer look at the joint system for the head, it's got a double ball dumbbell joint with a smooth ball that goes into the socket of the head, and that stays plugged in snugly, while you have an angular ball on the other side that goes into the neck. And this functions really well because the dumbbell actually stays firmly connected to the head as you remove the head to do a head swap. So to demonstrate, let me remove the head of Miles. The dumbbell joint stays where it should be, and it's easy to put on the mask head as well. So swapping heads is really easy. He comes with 2 sets of swappable hands, one for web shooting and one for fists. They're nicely painted on the fingers with red paint, and then more of the same sculpting detail for the web lines, as well as the fabric texture in between the web lines. So swapping the hands on is really easy, and you get him in his web shooting pose, as well as him having his fists clenched. Taking a closer look at the sculpt, you can see his head sculpt is absolutely phenomenal. It really shines because Hasbro has used the new high-resolution face printing for a very expressive and sharply painted expression on his face. There's a strange paint detail here on his forehead, and I'm not sure if that's supposed to be some dirt. His eyebrows are really expressive. His eyes are also big and bright. Hasbro has also gone the extra mile to give him some paint detail in his nostrils as well as in between his lips. I'm not sure if that really affects the overall expression, but the application and effort is there. So overall, it's a great face sculpt that really brings out how Miles felt running into battle while at the same time trying to understand the full extent of his powers and what he's capable of. The head sculpt is great as well, showing off the curls all over the head, a very stylish hairstyle. A small nitpick I have is the joint where the head sculpt is glued onto the head. There's a slight gap over here, making it look like sort of a helmet that's attached on, but that's a small nitpick. Moving on to the torso, Miles is wearing a bomber jacket on top of a hoodie. There's paint application for the patch over here, and most of it is some green plastic. The inner hoodie is cast out of a red plastic. The shoulder joints and the plastic bomber jacket are engineered nicely so he can actually put his arms down by his side without them sticking out. So how Hasbro did that was by actually cutting out and reducing the plastic in the hoodie. I can understand why they did this, to achieve the overall look of wearing 2 layers, and it looks really cohesive. So looking down his arms, there's details for the rolls in the fabric, as well as the sculpted cuff on the end of the sleeve. Moving on to the back, again more rolls in the fabric. The top of the red hoodie is actually glued onto this green jacket. So let's take a look at the sculpt on his torso inside the jackets. The outer jacket can be removed like so. So on the inside of the jacket, we see the graffiti spider logo, very nicely and sharply printed on, with a bit of drip over here, just to show the spray paint effect. Again, web lines and the fabric textures in between the web lines. And here we see that the ball joints on his shoulders are huge, just to make sure they accommodate the space of the plastic jacket as it goes between the body and the arms. He's got the same web lines and texture down the back of his torso. Moving on to his shorts, again more fabric texture on his shorts. He's got a belt sculpted on, silver paint for the buckle. Hasbro did not apply any paint on the belt. Would have been nice for them to put some black or brown on it. Sculpted back pockets, again a very cool detail. Moving down to his legs, more fabric and web lines on his spider outfit, and he's wearing some red high top sneakers. They're all sculpted and cast in the red plastic with the white paint details on the tongue as well as the soles. I suppose the small gripe over here is Hasbro couldn't give us licensed Nike Air Jordans for his sneakers, and that would have made the toy design more faithful to his look in the movie. And here's a quick side-by-side with the comic Miles Morales from the Space Venom wave. Clearly the new figure has the better sculpt from all the advances in technology, with a more detailed and expressive head sculpt, a lot more variation in terms of the textures used in the body, as well as the types of plastics used for the materials. And that's not really a knock on this figure as well anyway, because I suppose this is more faithful to his looks in the comic books. A quick look down the back as well. And here's what they look like with their masked head sculpts. Overall, they are the same size, so that's great in keeping your whole Marvel Legends collection uniform in terms of scale. On to Articulation, he's got a dumbbell joint in his neck, so 360 swivel. He can look up very well. However, from the side you can see a bit of gap between his head and his neck. He looks down very well too. And again you see the gap between the back of his head and his neck. Minor issue because you don't really see that gap from the front when he looks up or down. Dumbbell joint also means he gets a very generous tilt right as well as left. So that lends a bit of expressiveness to his articulation. Swivel hinge at the shoulders for 360. As well as outwards pretty generous, more than 90 degrees. Swivel just above the elbow for 360. Elbow bend for just about 90 degrees. Swivel hinge at the wrist for 360, as well as bending inwards and outwards. He's got an ab crunch on the upper part of his torso. Ball joint at the waist, so he goes 360 swivel. So combining the ab crunch and the ball joint gives you a very impressive forward bend, pretty much almost 90 degrees, as well as a pretty generous backward bend. So here's the cool detail after bending his torso backwards. The paint apps go all the way into this joint, so as he bends backwards, the Spider Graffiti logo actually looks stretched, and this is really cool. He's got a ball joint at the hips, so he does the sideways split pretty well, as well as forwards and backwards. That much. The thigh swivel is well disguised inside his shorts, so he goes 360. Double jointed knees that are quite well engineered and designed, because even though he has a baggy pair of shorts and they are made of a hard plastic, he's able to get a very good range of double knee bend. And as you can see over here, the joint extends beyond his shorts. Unfortunately, a slight nitpick I have is that he doesn't have a boot swivel, so no calf swivel over here. Some ankle tilt upwards as well as downwards pretty well, and then ankle pivot outwards as well as inwards. And as you use the pivot, you can feel a sort of detent in between. So with a well-designed articulation scheme, you can get him into very nice, expressive spider fighting poses. Quite impressive with the range of movement. However, I have to say that because the figure has small feet and very skinny legs, coupled with the chunky plastic in the arms of his jacket, so having him balance could be a little bit of a challenge. Size-wise, Miles stands at 5 5/8 inches, or about 14.5 centimeters. Size comparisons with the other Spider-Verse movie characters from this wave, with Comic Miles, Scarlet Spider, Spider-Man and Mary Jane, the vintage wave Spider-Man and Gwen Stacy, some comic book Spider-Verse characters with Carnage and Venom, a couple of Marvel Legends X-Men, and finally some G.I. Joe Classified series. Miles Morales is the main character in the Spider-Verse animated movie, so it's definitely satisfying to have him in action figure form. The main downside of this figure is the stability. The puffy aesthetic of the jacket means that there's more plastic in the upper body as compared to his skinny legs and small feet, resulting in Miles being top heavy. I also wish Hasbro would have given us the licensed Nike Air Jordans for his sneakers. There's very little paint on this figure. I count about 7 hits of paint, but because of the use of different colored plastics all over the figure, he still looks interesting to my eye. The sculpting is great, especially the head sculpt, which really brings Marvel Legends to the next level. It's also very nice to see the new articulation scheme giving him more posability in the neck and waist. I can definitely recommend this figure, and if you're a big fan of the Spider-Verse movie, this is a no-brainer. Please like and share this video, let me know what you think in the comments, and also subscribe to my channel for more toy reviews. Thanks for watching, take care and stay safe.